With David French, who's a staff writer for the National Review covering this Russian hacking report that's come out. David, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk for a minute about the report itself and what we know, because obviously large portions of this are classified, I would think, yet some of it seems to have leaked out already.
Yeah, Washington leaks like a sieve, doesn't it? We know the substance of it. And in fact, we've known the substance of the intelligence community consensus for a while, and that is that there were people who used, that Russian intelligence used various cutouts and third parties to provide to Julian Assange and WikiLeaks the documents that it was able to get from the Democratic National Committee. Some of the same hackers who were able to get Democratic DNC documents were people who were also trying to hack various .gov and .mil military email addresses at that same time. It's all laid out pretty clearly through non-classified sources online. What is not laid out as clearly online, of course, because it's all highly classified, is exactly who those people were, who they were working with, and what were their long-standing ties or lack thereof with Russian intelligence.
The other reports that I heard this morning, specifically on CBS, were the emails that were supposedly intercepted showing high-ranking Russian officials congratulating each other on Donald Trump's election. I suppose the possibility exists that they were celebrating the election of Donald Trump separately from the conclusion that they had hacked the election and caused his election. Those don't necessarily seem to connect unless there's proof in this document that they do.
Well, right. I mean, it could very well be that those officials wanted Trump to win and wanted him to beat Hillary Clinton. I've long been less impressed by the conclusion that Russians wanted Trump to win than I've been less concerned about their intentions than their actions. I don't care as much about their intentions, although intentions are important. If the actions are there, if the actions are that they hacked into DNC computers, that they've hacked into State Department computers, White House computers, if Russia's engaging in ongoing espionage activities, intention is important, but the actions are the real key here. What did they do, and how can we guard against it? And I feel like we've kind of gotten sidetracked over answering a question that might be the hardest one to answer of all, which is what exactly were they intending to happen, versus an easier question to answer, which is what exactly did they do?
Yeah, that's a good point. From your reporting, I've heard this in other sources, but from your own reporting, have you heard that or reported that it was a phishing email that eventually got whoever was hacking into John Podesta's email, and that email was cleared by his own staff before he responded to it?
Yeah. One of the things that's remarkable about this, I almost hate that we keep using the term hacking, because hacking implies like some guy at a computer who, like the Matrix, is breaking into the code of the computing system, is coming in through the back door. No, this was waltzing into the front door. So essentially what some intelligence agencies do and hackers do is they send out a whole bunch of individually targeted emails. This is called phishing. And these emails are designed to look a lot like account recovery emails you might get, like from a Gmail login, things like that. And that's what they did here. They spoofed a Gmail login email, sent it to John Podesta, got forwarded around, and what the Democrats claim is an email that was sent that said this is a legitimate email, was meant to say this is an illegitimate email. I don't know if that's true or not, but whatever the case, the DNC fell for a pretty blatant and obvious phishing scheme. They just flat out gave out their password. It's something that even like a middle school IT department should be able to guard against.
So in watching a bit of that hearing yesterday, and I'm no fan of Julian Assange, but he has claimed that the Russians didn't give him this information. But what I understand is the contents of this report that have been leaked seem to suggest that our security experts can identify the individuals who did hand the information off to Julian Assange.
Right. And Julian Assange can say, well, Russians did not give it to me, and be in some sense truthful in the sense that, well, no, they weren't directly members of Russian intelligence. But intelligence agencies use cutouts all the time. They use third parties. They use other entities that give them deniability, whether it's plausible deniability or just some basic form of deniability. So Julian Assange saying, I didn't get it directly from the Russians, doesn't answer anything, even if you can believe a word that comes out of his mouth. But that's what I think that the American people need to see sooner rather than later, in a manner consistent with the national security needs of this country. In other words, we don't need to disclose our intelligence gathering capabilities necessarily, but I think the American people do need to see the evidence that's out there so that we can stop all this theorizing and conspiracy theorizing about who's out to get whom. There is a fact of the matter. There is evidence. We need to see the evidence as much as possible, as soon as possible, consistent with national security.
Yeah, we're talking to David French from the National Review. One final question. After Donald Trump gets his briefing on this, and I know that you don't have a crystal ball, and I'm not sure anybody does when it comes to Donald Trump, what do you expect he may change his tune, or do you think he continues down this path of denying this?
I don't know. I mean, we're still on a learning curve with President-elect Trump. I think that if he finds the information convincing, he may just drop the subject entirely. I mean, one of the things that I think that's not discussed enough in all of this, it's serious if Russia tried to interfere with our election. We need to guard against that, and Republicans and Democrats should be able to unite around that concept. But even if it's proven to everyone's satisfaction that Russia did try to hack DNC computers and did hack and did plant false news stories and things like that, there's still no evidence that changed the outcome of the election. It's not like this was an election that was free of controversy except for these damaging emails from WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
This was one where every single news cycle seemed to bring in some sort of new scandal, some sort of new controversy. And the idea that one of those scandals was the one that toppled the Clinton campaign, there's just no support for that. So we need to guard against meddling in our election, but we don't need to be casting into doubt the legitimacy of the election itself.
Yeah, a great point. David French from the National Review. Have a great weekend. Glad to get David on with us. By the way,